Calming the nation and the world. Welcome everyone here to News Now. President Trump just moments ago addressing the nation, and it was one of his biggest speeches that he has given in his presidency. Welcome everyone here to News Now and our viewers from around the world watching live on fox10phoenix.com as well. Ron, this was a momentous moment.
It really was, Mike. When the news broke last night around 6 p.m. Arizona time, it was, I think, you can't call it shocking. Everybody knew that Iran was going to respond somehow, but literally, I think the level of concern, especially in our nation, was just so strong. People praying for our servicemen and women who are directly in harm's way. But you know, they practice drills, is my understanding, on a fairly regular basis in case something like this ever were to happen, so that they are in protected areas, number one. Number two, we have, who knows how advanced our technology is in terms of being able to be aware of missiles being launched.
Sure.
This runs through our NSA facility in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. They know instantly, anywhere around the world, if a missile is launched through every type of kind of technology that you can imagine. So there are even some reports that Iran tried to tip off, if not the United States, the Iraqis, that this was coming, knowing, of course, that the Iraqis would then share that with the United States. So several things seem to play in the favor of people who were hoping that this situation would not escalate as dramatic as it was last night.
Yeah, and the best news coming late last night, that no servicemen or women were injured or killed.
Right.
That was the big moment, and then we were waiting for the response from the president. There was some talk last night that he would address the nation last night, but then they says, nope, it's going to happen in the morning.
Right.
And we just all witnessed that. We'll show that to you just in a moment. But he really had a sense of calm, but also looking to the future as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's talking about getting NATO more involved in the process. That's fascinating in a lot of different ways, because European nations have been saying, we want to work more with the United States. We want to find areas that NATO can move forward together with the United States, not feeling like there's this split. Remember, it was only a few months ago that Emmanuel Macron said NATO's basically dead because we're so far apart on everything. Here's the president now saying, let's get NATO more involved in the process in the Middle East. When he talks about the process, Mike, he says he doesn't want war. The Iranians are saying they don't want war. The process, hopefully, is not a warlike process, or even one that involves new military action, but ultimately, hopefully, is one that could lead to longer-term peace.
Yes, and showing you right now, the markets right here, they are reacting. Look at the jump after the speech from the president, up 204 points there in the green. So Wall Street definitely liking the tone and the way that the president really addressed the nation today.
Yeah. Well, so what happened was this. Early this morning, Mike went ahead and put up the live feed for News Now. We realize a lot of you are watching us right now on local TV in Phoenix, on cable channel 9 or channel 45, which is Fox 10 Extra. But we have this streaming service that we do for you guys all day long, you know, morning, noon, and night. And Mike, we had, I believe at one point we had well over 250,000 people watching around the world.
Oh, it was actually a little bit more than that, 350,000 it jumped to. So right before the president started speaking, it was 250, and then they took on another 100,000 more. It was remarkable to see.
Yeah, we do like the feedback that we get from you guys. The part of the beauty of the technology of News Now, again, this is for those of you who are watching us around the world, is we see the chat box. We see except for the remarks that need to be bleeped out, those, those get filtered out. But we see your remarks and your input on this. And Mike, it is safe to say that this was one of, if not the most defining moment in the first term of Donald Trump's presidency. Who knows whether he's going to get a second term or not? That's totally up to the voters of this country. But it was clearly a defining moment.
Yeah, it really was. And you felt it before the speech was even coming about. Early this morning, when we even had the shot of the White House, it just felt like something big was brewing with this speech. And then when we obviously got the podium shot, everything just looked much, much different. And then the fact that the president took no questions and then just walked off, I think that will really help him as far as, for his future as well.
Yeah. Well, polling is important in an election year. We'll see. A lot of people have been saying for a long time that they wanted to see a little bit less of the president on social media and a little bit more of the, what would be considered more the traditional presidential approach. Now, look, he's got a rally coming up in Ohio pretty quickly, right?
Yes, he does tomorrow. Big day tomorrow. He'll have a lot to talk about.
And he'll have plenty to talk about, and who knows what he'll say. People are used to his more off-the-cuff remarks, but this was a solemn moment in our nation's history. Frankly, our relations with Iran at one point, believe it or not, were quite good. If you go back to the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. But there has been a certain level of tension between the United States and the Iranians going back to when our embassy was seized in the 1970s when Jimmy Carter was president. So, who knows? Long term, where does that relationship go? At least today, the tension has dropped in the room just a little bit. Don't read too much into it, but at least right now it looks like the Iranians are standing down. They, by the way, from the reports we had coming out of some of our Fox reporters back in D.C., they were saying in their own state-run media for internal consumption that they claimed that Americans had been killed. It was a flat-out lie.
Yeah.
But it's obvious that they're trying to save face with their own people and appear as tough as possible, while at the same time saying to us through third parties and saying to the rest of the world, we do not want a war with you, the United States of America.
No, because that would be the ultimate worst for them, because they know our military, strongest in the world. It would not be a pretty sight, no doubt there.
Right.
So, Ron, you have to wonder now just how Democrats are going to try to reel back in impeachment back into the focus.
Okay.
Because this last really almost a week now has been focused on Iran and what might happen next.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. I mean, when you think about the drama that is still to unfold in Washington, which really hasn't had any very little talk over the course of, where are we here on Tuesday, over the course of the last 5 or 6 days. But Mitch McConnell did announce yesterday that he's got the votes he needs within the GOP to proceed on a Bill Clinton-like template for how the Clinton impeachment hearings went, where you just start the hearings, and then at certain points along the way, they will address, instead of doing it ahead of time, which was what Nancy Pelosi was insisting, that they will just allow the case to proceed, and at certain points along the way, if the issue comes up where witnesses need to be called, they will then address that on a case-by-case basis. I think that's the outcome the president was hoping for. But Mike, there's still this open question of John Bolton. And will he testify? And how many Republican senators who are considered moderates might at some point in the process get to the point where they say we need to hear from somebody like John Bolton, or somebody who was in the room, or somebody who has more knowledge so that we can make an informed decision. It's still, the president is hoping that he can win re-election. There could be a few bumps along the road, Mike, between now and November.
Yeah, no doubt about that. What a fascinating time it'll be, and what a fascinating day it was, Ron.
Yeah, it
really
was
a moment in history. It was great to be aside you for all of it there.
How about this, Mike? Just tell everybody who's watching now, it's 10 after. Kind of tell us what your plan is now as folks around the world are watching. going forward here over this next hour or two.
Okay, so right now we will be showing the 9-minute full speech there from the president, and then after we'll hear from the Democrats as well as House Republicans talking about what is next and what could happen.
I also think there's no doubt there are just key people that you want to hear from on Capitol Hill. Now that the president has given his speech, now that we know where the situation is, as we say, a good 18 hours or so since we got the first news, what will Lindsey Graham have to say?
Sure.
After the fact. Well, let's listen. I mean, let's watch and wait to see if he doesn't have something to say in the halls of Congress. How about a Rand Paul? Where's Chuck Schumer coming down on this? I know that we have some of these remarks pre-speech, but it'll also be really fascinating just to watch for you guys any live feeds that come in, either down in the bowels of the Capitol, right, with the off-the-cuff remarks from some of these opinion makers up on Capitol Hill. What will they have to say as the day goes on, both on social and in live feeds? That's one more thing that we can offer for you. Once it comes in, of course, we'll carry it.
Yes, we will. As soon as it happens live, we'll bring it to you right here on News Now, everybody there. And isn't it something we haven't heard or seen Nancy Pelosi this week? In front of a camera, in front of a podium. I know tomorrow might be the day for that, but that'll be interesting, too, to see her sometime tomorrow, we're hoping.
Yeah.
To get kind of her take. What's going on?
Especially because